power. What did you think of the president's address last night, Joe?
Well, it was sweeping. It was optimistic. It was a very progressive, very ambitious agenda that I like. I think a lot of people on the left are going to like, and others are going to be concerned with the price tag. Myself and maybe one or two others on this set today may be concerned, but I think most Americans, Willie, despite what Tim Scott said in the Republican response about Joe Biden tearing America apart with his policies, they don't agree with that assessment. They haven't agreed with that assessment over the first 99 days of this administration. And if you look at the flash polls last night out by several organizations, they didn't agree with that assessment last night. This address getting a great initial reaction from, once again, the overwhelming majority of Americans.
Yeah, as so much of his legislation, both passed and proposed, has overwhelming support from a majority of Americans. These are those initial polls. These are snap polls, of course. President Biden's address to Congress in the latest CBS YouGov poll, 85% of viewers approved of the president's speech, 15% disapproved. The CNN SSRS poll, 71% said the president's speech made them feel optimistic about the country's direction. In that CBS poll, 78% felt optimistic about America after listening to the president's speech. 13% felt pessimistic when it comes to Biden's policy proposals in his speech. 73% said they would move the country in the right direction, while 27% said it would move in the wrong direction. So again, those are just snap polls taken immediately after the speech last night. But Joe, as we talked about on Peacock last night, he put out a transformational agenda. We knew that it was there. Some of it has already passed. But he told the Congress and he told the country that we are in the middle of 4 crises, as he laid it out, and it requires this kind of government action, that he's going to step in the era that began with President Reagan's inaugural address saying that government is the problem officially ended last night.
It did officially end last night. And Mika, this was John Heilman brought it up last night on Peacock. I think others agreed. Certainly, this was the most sweeping, progressive agenda that anybody has delivered before Congress as a president. Maybe since LBJ in 64 or 65, maybe even more progressive and more ambitious than that agenda.
Well, and a transitional figure, I don't think so. I think transformational is what Joe Biden is setting out to do. And by the way, if you look at how the metrics of his progress is that he always overshoots the runway instead of underperforms. Look at the COVID shots. 100 million planned by the first 100 days. 220 is the result. By the way, just ahead, we're going to update you on another big story that happened yesterday, the raid of Rudy Giuliani's New York apartment and office by federal agents. What the major move means for the criminal investigation of former President Trump and his former lawyer. We're going to get to that in a moment. But first, more from the speech. President Biden last night offered an optimistic assessment of America's place in the world after inheriting what he called a nation in crisis.
I stand here tonight, one day shy of the 100th day of my administration. 100 days since I took the oath of office and lifted my hand off our family Bible and inherited a nation, we all did, that was in crisis. The worst pandemic in a century. The worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. The worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. Now, after just 100 days, I can report to the nation, America is on the move again. I've often said, our greatest strength is the power of our example, not just the example of our power. In my conversations with world leaders, and I've spoken to over 38, 40 of them now, I've made it known that America's back. And you know what they say? The comment I hear most of all from them is they say, we see America's back, but for how long? But for how long? My fellow Americans, we have to show not just that we're back, but that we're back to stay, and that we aren't going to go it alone. We're going to do it by leading with our allies.
David Ignatius, we really did have a tale of two parties last night, and we have now for quite some time. Few would have guessed that Joe Biden would be the one that provided such a clear ideological blueprint for his party, but that's what history has revealed to us. And then you have the Republican response, which again, a lot of jabs here, a lot of jabs there, but reminds me of that line from The Art of War, that tactics without strategy is just the noise before defeat. I fear for Republicans, that's what we continue to see, while Democrats are coming up with a grand, sweeping, breathtaking, and if you're a small government conservative, very concerning agenda, but one that is overwhelmingly popular with the American people.
Joe, it's fascinating. Biden is accelerating in this first 100 days. He was a more confident man last night than he was on an inauguration day, in my judgment. This is a transformational agenda. The New York Times wrote in its story this morning that he's trying to rewrite parts of the social contract in America. These are fundamental things. They're going to have Democratic support, but I think that the essence of what Biden is trying to do is govern over the heads of the Republican Party in Congress, to bet that the American people want and need the kinds of social changes that he's talking about, that they hunger for free community college, that they're desperate for child care to help take care of their kids so they can go back to work more easily, and that they want to tax the rich more to pay for it. That's the bet that Biden's making. I heard in the speech the usual Biden offer to negotiate. He's ready to talk. He's got $4 trillion on the table. I can't imagine that at the end of the day that's the number that we're gonna end up with. So I think when you look at this speech and you think back 4 years ago to Trump's discussion of American carnage, this is American optimism. This is something that is just at the heart of our politics, is that upbeat spirit. As Biden said, never bet against America. It's always a losing bet. That was the basic premise. Instant polls say people like it. We can be sure, as you know, Joe, Republicans on the Hill are not going to like it. So can he govern over their heads? That's what I'm waiting to see.
Well, he certainly has so far, Willie. Again, you look at these numbers after watching the speech and these snap polls, only 78% of Americans say they are optimistic about their country. I don't think I've seen those numbers actually since I've been in public life for a quarter of a century. It's interesting, though, that Joe Biden is delivering this grand strategy, this progressive agenda. At the same time, he keeps talking about compromise. He's going to compromise. He's throwing a lot of massive numbers out there. I suspect that the president and his people aren't just talking to the Republicans. They're saying to Joe Manchin, hey, don't worry about it. We understand, Joe. You've been saying we have to have bipartisan bills. We have to have bipartisan infrastructure bills. We're hearing what you're saying. Let's get to compromise. So I don't think this is going to be as much as one-sided as the COVID bill, only because I don't think Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema are going to give progressives that choice. Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.